Hello, this is Gary Garcia and welcome to our webinar on managing modern IT. This is the first in a series of webinars discussing managing modern IT. And today we're going to be talking about accelerating service delivery by using converged infrastructures. Quick a bit about the company that I'm working for and that we're representing. We are Vistara. Vistara is a technology company. We sell monitoring, management, and orchestration software as a service. It is a cloud platform. We were incorporated as a company, standalone company, in 2012. Headquartered in San Jose. We have development and engineering in Hyderabad, India, and a representative office and lots of business in Japan. We've been used. The technology that we're building this company on has been used by professional managed service providers for about 7 years, usually as an ingredient technology, something that's part of someone else's brand, but the technology is sound. It's been used for large production enterprises for a number of years, and it's well matured that way. Even though we're a relatively young company, our technology and our product are used by over 1,000 customers, over 1,100 customers using Vistara. And we've really created this company to bring this technology instead of just for use by managed service providers, to make it available to the enterprise. So this is an industrial, capable, full-featured product that's available to the enterprise, even though it's only been available for a short time. We only deliver as a SaaS platform, but that has a lot of different benefits. SaaS platforms, of course, have the benefit of not having to be maintained and upgraded by the customer, which kind of is an important point, as we'll see later on as we talk about managing modern IT. Anyway, we're available and primarily working in North America and Japan. We have our own technology. We own our own technology, and we're available through distribution, and we have great technology partners that we're very proud of. Okay, so here's the thing. When we look at the legacy that most IT practitioners are left to deal with, they have a number of different physical devices that they've integrated themselves, and these go all the way out to desktops and mobile devices, where everybody is a system administrator, switches, routers, servers, software, and that's kind of like the legacy that we're left with. And everyone's got a little bit of this in their data center. It's normal, and perhaps many IT practitioners still, this is the only way they do business, where the role of IT is primarily integrating all of these bits and pieces into something that the business can use as a service. As we mature in our process, our IT practitioners generally will try and increase asset utilization through virtualization, and that naturally leads to this ability to migrate services from physical devices to other physical devices. So we get to more of a service kind of culture, a service delivery culture, and that kind of leads us to private cloud. So we'll have zones of virtualization without really thinking about mobility, but then getting to private cloud infrastructures, where really the whole goal of the private cloud infrastructure is getting it so the server, network, storage, and software layers all work together to be delivering services that can be invoked rather than managed as a specific integration. And of course, that same strategy is available in the public cloud, where you just buy the services and you don't really have to know about how the service is delivered. Here's the thing, we probably have a little bit of each of these in all of our IT environments, but at the end of the day, the business is employing IT to manage and deliver services and to manage the data across all these services. So you can see we have a problem with where we are today, right? There has to be some mechanism by which we can bring all of these things together into one manageable and managed set of services. And the things we have to do across all these things include, you have to monitor whether these services are available. and manage them, do patching, and make sure your security and the data usage is consistent across all of these delivery mechanisms. And then we have to manage our service delivery capabilities, right? We make a promise to the business that we'll work for the company and we will deliver services. But what are the metrics for service delivery, right? If you're using, for example, Amazon Web Services, they do a pretty good job of measuring the uptime of the servers that you are renting, and you can express that to your business. Say, gosh, the Amazon servers were up all the time. But how do you integrate that service delivery metric with all of these other delivery mechanisms so that there's one source of truth and the business actually knows what they're getting for their money? And then inventory and governance, just kind of counting all of the pieces across all these service delivery mechanisms is kind of difficult. And then governing and auditing the usage for all of these things across all these different delivery mechanisms can be quite challenging. With Sarbanes-Oxley reporting requirements, it sure would be great to have an audit and tracking mechanism to know to unify all of these different things. So that's kind of the legacy that we're left with, right? We need visibility across the entire enterprise. We need to be able to actually see what's going on and report, regardless of how the services that we've cobbled together and that we're providing to the business, regardless of how we're delivering them, we still need to deliver one set of metrics and one set of policies that are imposed upon how data is used and how the services are governed. So, across all these different types of infrastructure, mobile devices, if you're like me, I manage my own mobile device, but I have access to the company's data on it. Being able to, do the availability, the maintenance, the service, audit, change management across mobile devices, the silos of infrastructure, the things that are integrated at home, internal private cloud, external private cloud, and the outsourced services like Amazon or Rackspace. Being able to do, instant cost, access management, being able to do all of these deliver all these IT responsibilities in a single, consistent way, is the challenge that modern IT faces. Right, it is a requirement. It's not being able to meet these responsibilities is a requirement. It's not just a good idea, right? We actually need to be able to know when data has been erased by whom. So you need an audit mechanism. You actually need to be able to count all of the pieces. So you need inventory. You need to be able to control when infrastructures are available and when and communicate to the business when services will be unavailable or when they're going to change and have new features or have features removed. Being able to express change management. Across all of these platforms and all of these different delivery mechanisms, it's really a requirement now in modern IT that we are able to meet all of our responsibilities consistently across all of our delivery vehicles. So what if you could integrate management of internal and external private cloud into a single platform, so that now your internal private cloud has the same reporting metrics as your external private cloud? And what if you could go a little faster in driving those services that are in legacy infrastructures, driving them to be more like a private cloud, or actually just to become service catalogs that the business can consume? What if you could offer the business a dashboard where instead of them asking you, what happened last week, they can actually just go and check themselves. They can see the dashboard. Everyone can see the barber pole, red light, yellow light, green light, and see that their services that they're consuming from IT are in a known state. That certainly would increase satisfaction and probably decrease the workload in the service desk in IT. And what if you could focus on service delivery instead of integration? So instead of taking all the risk of integration, what if you could consume services in such a way that, or consume infrastructure in such a way that it doesn't look like you're consuming infrastructure, you're delivering services? What if you could offer an improved self-service time instead of a custom build strategy, what if you could allow the business to do self-service for new servers and new applications without having to incur the whole sets of processes around acquisition, integration, test, and release. These things would probably get us a long way to a more modern way of managing IT. So one of the ways that we decrease risk is to consume converged infrastructures. Converged infrastructure, there's a lot of them out there. Some of them are highly packaged and vertically integrated by one supplier. Some of them are more flexible and maybe integrated by value-added resellers or even the IT practitioner themselves. But regardless, all converged infrastructure solutions have a couple things in common. They decrease the risk of integration because there are known standards, tested reference architectures, and where the IT practitioner has the advantage of knowing that somebody has actually tested different versions of firmware, software, and interconnections so that a predictable result can be achieved in a known amount of time. In most of the converged infrastructures we've looked at, there's not really any new science, there's no new technology there, but there's a lot more security and a lot more predictability and a significant way, significantly more comfort in getting there. So if you take a look, for example, at VSPEX, it's a reference architecture, but with a vigorous testing program around it, so that IT practitioners can very quickly adopt a platform that can become a private cloud infrastructure, or it can become a vertical application hosting environment. But the thing is, your IT practitioners could probably build an infrastructure like this. There's some other interesting benefits to choosing a converged infrastructure like VSPEX. The idea that this is an infrastructure with a lifespan. It's going to have upgrades. It will have new application and new partner technologies tested on it. So that while your IT practitioners, your engineers could probably put together a private cloud infrastructure on their own, there's a lot of benefits here to both the IT and to the business by choosing a converged infrastructure or even a reference architecture that it becomes a playground with all of the things that make it safe for IT to move faster, right? So the great thing about these general use converged infrastructure platforms is they become great targets for consolidation. They really have already thought about the things that we commonly do in IT, things like virtualization, and that it's very easy to consume. It's very easy to promote, and a lot of the security concerns are already taken care of because, of course, a lot of other IT practitioners have already used these infrastructures. So that means that when you latch on to a converged infrastructure solution, there's this great benefit in that you're joining a community of people who've already bumped into some of the rough spots and figured out their way around it. Then there's ready answers for things like backup and how to manage these things. So the great thing about all this is this reference architecture is that in order to take the reference architecture from being a platform to being a private cloud, there's some things you kind of need to add. You need to be able to add self-service catalog, right? Would be a very desirable thing in a private cloud. The ability to audit the infrastructure against a standard so that you know whether or not the infrastructure is still in an operable state. That's a pretty important thing. Being able to do metrics, not just for availability and resources availability and consumption models, but also being able to do a dashboard for what services are actually running on the infrastructure, what kinds of applications are consuming the most resources in the enterprise. Being able to actually report to the business on the value that they're getting from IT, it is a really important attribute of moving from infrastructure to cloud. And then being able to correlate the applications to the physical infrastructure that they're using and residing on. That's something that by itself converged infrastructures don't do, but with the addition of a software layer, you can do. And then being able to do, being able to manage the patching and doing the multi-tenant workload support. These are things that are going to be really important to maintain the availability of a private cloud. And when we're in this environment here, and we're trying to get to a private cloud, service catalog, self-service catalog is great, but oftentimes there's a different kind of communication that needs to happen with a private cloud between the people who are using the services that are tenant on the application and the IT practitioners that are supporting it. And that means that there has to be some way for multiple consumers to speak to potentially multiple providers. So you think about that, that would be a multi-tenant ticketing system is one way to do that. Help desk ticketing system. Something that and the reason this is important is in a private cloud infrastructure, you can have multiple applications consumed by multiple different business units. So on the consumer side, there's going to be multiple, maybe an SAP user base that are interested in the availability and the operation and the change management for that application. And maybe there's a different group of people, maybe a SharePoint group of users who are interested in that service. And they might be the same group, they might overlap, or they might be two completely different groups. But the infrastructure is shared, and that's the whole point of a converged infrastructure and a shared infrastructure private cloud, is that you can have multiple applications consuming the same physical resources. But being able to manage that communication back to in this case, the SAP team and the SharePoint team, and have those tickets flow in a way that doesn't create unnecessary noise. That's a very important thing. So a multi-tenant ticketing system goes beyond the self-service catalog to do some of the more mundane tasks, things like requesting that a change control be moved, or that there's perhaps an incident with a resolution that's known at the application tier, and we want to communicate that out to the customers. Multi-tenant ticketing system is an important part of a cloud system. And then being able to audit this infrastructure, because if you have a shared infrastructure with multiple users managing the infrastructure, you kind of need to be able to hold people accountable, audit and learn from mistakes, use audit as a mechanism for knowledge gathering, and governance, being able to approve different changes in ITIL terms with a change advisory board, so that the multiple tenants aren't accidentally impacting each other as they make changes in the environment. So audit and governance is an important back-end piece of what it takes to take infrastructure from a capable infrastructure to a private cloud. And then being able to integrate internal and external private cloud. One of the trends that we're seeing in IT is this idea that we might have development and pre-production environments in external private cloud and production environments in internal private cloud. And being able to manage that whole environment and deliver IT metrics and understand efficiencies and express governance across the hybrid IT, well, that's a pretty important part of private cloud. So integrating your VSPEX or your other converged infrastructure solutions with your external private cloud, well, that's a unique capability that I think that has where we're seeing a lot of trend where IT practitioners actually need this. And then if you had all of these things in one environment, it would become possible to do automated reporting rather than gathering data from multiple sources and then kind of hand lacing it all together to do reporting. But being able to do automated reporting is pretty important. Now, I gotta tell you, I work for Vistara, and Vistara enables all of these things. It enables the private cloud service delivery. So taking, just to talk about what it takes to get that done, in addition to having the help desk ticketing system and an audit capability, we have API level integration with all of the elements of converged infrastructures. In the case of VSPEX, we have API level integration with EMC's VNX and VNXe. We have API level integration with Brocade VDX. Great relationship with Brocade. We work with. We have API level integration with Cisco Nexus and UCS, so a lot of flexibility in the VSPEX architecture, and of course that means that that you should expect that anybody who's proposing that they do management for converged infrastructures would also have be able to support that flexibility. We have ready integrations with Microsoft SCOM and Virtual Center. So of course, if you if you're going to be ambitious as Vistara is in trying to elevate a converged infrastructure all the way to a private cloud, the fact of the matter is IT practitioners are going to have a number of different management infrastructures. Softwares, and that's okay. So we integrate and we embrace and extend those tool sets. And what these API level integrations allow us to do is to and just an example, we can do this with other converged infrastructures, but with VSPEX, we actually went into the EMC VSPEX Labs, and we've actually been validated for these claims with our partners here that we can do some bare metal provisioning. We can do the configuring and management of the compute blades, as well as the network and storage, all the way up to the virtualization layer. We can check and make sure that the environment is configured in a known state, and that we can create and define a service catalog that can be published to the end customers. And we have an approval process so that changes have an approval flow, right, to support a change advisory board. And in order to make that service catalog useful, we have the automated instance provisioning and software configuration, post-provisioning automation. Anything that can be scripted, of course, is fully supported in here, along with a business process markup language environment that allows you to create your service catalogs and publish those out. So, here's the thing. If you want to take regular old infrastructure and elevate it to modern IT, and converged infrastructures and elevate them to modern IT, you kind of need to be able to bring all of these things to all of these orchestration, automation, and governance pieces to the table for your business. Converged infrastructures like VSPEX are an example of a place where we have those capabilities. And the way it works is we've got ourselves what we call a vCare agent. It's a little virtual machine, or a Vistara gateway. Vistara gateway is the virtual machine, or a vCare agent, which is a small software agent that goes on a Windows or Linux box. Either one is fine. The Vistara gateway is probably the preferred way. The Vistara gateway is a hardened virtual machine that isn't really accessible. It just lives in the data center and provides a communication channel back to through the internet to Vistara, which it lives out in the cloud. And the Vistara gateway and the vCare agents allow us to talk to firewalls and software layers, and like Active Directory. It lets us talk to the application servers. Maybe if you've got some Cisco UCS, we can manage UCS profiles. Maybe you've got Brocade VDX, and we can configure the VDX, and we can do all our SNMP monitoring, or we can be agentless, or we have our own agent in the vCare agent. We get deep in the servers and actually manage the services on each of these applications, bringing together all of these different kinds of hardware, right? Whether it's cell phones and tablets, or desktops, or silos of infrastructure with server, network, and storage that are kind of pulled together by the IT practitioners in whatever way, or whether it's converged infrastructures, we can talk to all those devices and then process data about those devices in the Vistara cloud. And then enterprise IT or managed service providers, but primarily in this case enterprise IT, then log in with a browser into the Vistara cloud, and they are able then to access the data center and manage all of the infrastructure. And there's some great benefits to this approach. Primarily, when we think about audit capabilities, all of the changes that are made through Vistara, all the changes are logged. So if you for example bring up a console in Vistara and even at the command line and we're making some changes, that session, the RDP session or whatever protocol you're using, is actually recorded at a protocol level in Vistara. And that means that all of that secure information lives in the cloud. So if you need to go and find out, the one person who knows how to do an MPLS update, you wanted to review how the MPLS update was made, well, that recording lives in the cloud and is accessible to all the delegates that IT decides should have access to that. The obvious benefit from an audit perspective is that those session recordings, all the auditable material, live in an external cloud where they can't really be deleted accidentally or moved or tampered with. Now, because we are a cloud, Vistara is equally capable of managing external public cloud too. So there you go. Integrating private cloud with external public cloud is the same. What we'd like to offer you is the opportunity to have a demo. When we look at modern IT, a modern IT is characterized by highlighting service delivery rather than the role of IT as integrator. Instead, IT is a service manager, and because business is now expecting that IT can deliver services very quickly, it's also expecting transparency, so that we know how fast we're delivering, we know the availability, we know our quality metrics, and that should be true regardless of delivery mechanism, right? So whether it's a single server or a converged infrastructure or an external private cloud, all of those the services that are delivered through those vehicles should be readily available to the business. And modern IT is definitely trending towards self-service. Business expects they should be able to consume new services on demand. It's perfectly reasonable. If anybody with a credit card can buy an application service on the web, well, certainly IT practitioners should be able to deliver the same level of capabilities internal to the business. And modern IT demands reliability, scalability, and security, and increasingly demands integration of internal infrastructure with external infrastructures. So what we're after here is is risk reduction and efficiency. And one of the ways to get that done is with converged infrastructure. And if you want something that's also flexible, these converged infrastructures like VSPEX that are integrated in the channel or by the IT practitioner, they offer the maximum level of flexibility, whereas vertically integrated solutions have different offers and different capabilities, but generally speaking have a little less flexibility. What we'd love to do is to schedule a demo with you and take you through the entire technology here and show you how we're doing it. But you can also go to www.vistarait.com. You can see some videos of our product. You can also see us in the EMC Solution Gallery at www.vistarait.com/EMC Gallery. And we'd love to get started with you today. Thanks a lot.